All right. Well, the decision to host an event virtually, in person, or hybrid is certainly a decision we did not take lightly. Ultimately, for us, in the end, it was a no-brainer, and I'll explain why. Cvent Connect is our annual flagship conference, and in 2019, when we were in person, we had about 4,500 attendees roughly attend the on-site event. In 2020, when we had to move everything virtually, we had a record 43,000 people registered. So as you can imagine, coming off of those 2 years, we knew that the company, as a company as a whole, we needed to offer something really special that we can offer to all of our attendees, whether there are different levels of engagement or different levels of comfort. So there's a few things that I like to say that I consider when you're kind of going through your decision to move hybrid. The first one would be contractual. You have to look at it's kind of a no-brainer as well. You have to look at what you're already booked for. In our case, we were already contracted with a venue. So we're already locked in to host the event. I think the second thing, and arguably one of the more important things, is your conference goals. What are you trying to achieve with your overall conference? What are you trying to achieve with your overall content? What types of networking experience are you looking to do? And ultimately, why are you hosting this event? The third thing, and last but not least, are your attendees. They are the lifeblood of your event after all, and they're not going to be willing to attend the experience isn't suited for their expectations. You might not hit the mark. So you have to weigh what you're going to do from a in-person standpoint and a virtual standpoint. So my recommendation would be to look at past attendee behavior. What do they engage in and attend mostly? And will that be something that will work virtually? Oh boy, we had many people involved in making the decision to go hybrid for Cvent Connect. As far as who all was involved, I made sure we covered all bases by getting all relevant stakeholders involved. First and foremost, our core team, which is comprised mostly of leaders on the meetings and events team, as well as content teams, met extensively. We had a lot of fun debates and conversations around all the things related to event design, how we're going to pull this off, all the list of things that we needed to accomplish to do this. For some of us, hybrid was new. For some of us, not so new. So uncharted territory for some, kind of something that we've already seen before in a reinvented way for others. We also made sure our executive team was heavily bought into this, all the way up to the CEO, mostly to make sure we were making the right decision for our company, for our audience and our customers, and ultimately the industry, especially in where we stood with the recovery and where we were standing currently with our company goals. As far as the departments we worked with, the list is quite long. We worked with finance on the financial implication side in terms of our budget, our contracts, re-looking at our revenue goals, etc. We leaned heavily on legal team with our contracts, our website language, our new terms and conditions, of course, duty of care, which is always top of mind for planners, especially more so now. We worked with our travel and procurement team to help look at our risk across the board. We also kept tabs on our local regulations, travel restrictions, etc. The list goes on. We met with HR to analyze where our employees were, how they would be able to execute for the on-site event, etc. Our marketing team working extensively with them on content and execution. We also looped in our tech team, which ultimately became part of our core committee because technology is such an important piece of hybrid. They are now in all the core calls, making sure that we're making the right decisions. And ultimately, technology is our other venue. It is part of that venue experience. We also, as part of the event design, we looped in our IT and professional services team to analyze the right ways to host our production, which has been incredibly beneficial for us to make sure our production is up-leveled. And of course, our attendee support champions were involved in this decision from our customer success teams and our sales teams, because they're really the boots on the ground at the forefront of talking to our customers. Needless to say, this was totally a team effort, and I know this is kind of long-winded list, but it's just it really takes an army sometimes for some of these bigger events to make it the success and that you kind of dream. Oh man, the benefits and challenges question, one of my favorite topics. It's real talk time. All joking aside, for us, the benefits of hosting a hybrid event really outweighed the challenges. So as far as benefits go, I say the biggest benefit in my mind is hands down the reach that you get with hybrid. We're seeing some events get 3 to 6x the amount of attendees by hosting a virtual component to their program. I think the second biggest benefit would be the event and the content living longer. For some of us in the live events biz, you do an amazing epic show and you put all this work into it. When it's over, you think, wow, that was a lot of time and effort of my life only for it to last a few days. And for me, with hybrid, you get that longevity of that content living somewhere in a virtual environment for people to digest and consume at their leisure. I think the third benefit for me would be the different levels of engagement that you can offer. Gone are kind of the days where if you want it, you have to fly somewhere and get it. For the benefits here, I really think that, you're able to offer a myriad of options for people that might not be able to fly somewhere, or they just want to watch 1 or 2 sessions. Now over to the fun part, challenges. Obviously, there's always challenges when planning events, especially for hybrid when you're planning 2 events, because that's essentially what it becomes. You really do have to take both experiences, the in-person and the virtual component, and you have to take each of those experiences into consideration and then staff appropriately. I also think you also need to, as part of challenges, you also need to identify the programming that might not work in the virtual space. I don't really recommend an apples to apples approach of just streaming everything from your in-person event directly to, online. I really do think you have to cut into some of the programming pieces that might fall flat in a virtual environment, and then really double down on the stuff that's going to work really well. So enhancing good production for great content, really putting a lot of effort into what that experience is going to be like for both audiences. And I think the last challenge, which everybody's talking about, is the cost. A lot of people say costs are a factor, and they are. You do pay a little bit more for hybrid, but I do think that ultimately, if you're having that conversation with your executive team, if you weigh those costs against the ROI of the reach and the longevity of your content in your event and the lead volume, you might be surprised. Well, that's a very good question. And again, for me, I would say the biggest goal and objective for a hybrid event is getting more attendance. With more people attending in person and online, you're able to reach more people. Shocking, right? One of our goals for planning these types of events have always been to make our content and the ability to learn as easy as possible and make it available for as many people as possible for as long as possible. And I think that that's the beauty of hybrid, is letting people who may not be willing or able to travel watch the content that they want in either real time during the conference or later on their own accord. So really the longevity of content consumption is where hybrid events often differ from an in-person event. We also want to make sure our top sessions are able to be widely seen and not just for the in-person audience. So all of this ties into the very common theme of reach and how many people you're able to reach with your content. Also, the different layers of experience should be a huge differentiator for you when you're planning your hybrid experience. So as a part of your event design goals for your hybrid event, you should decide how many different experiences you want to tailor for both events, in person and hybrid. Those experiences and what you want people to take away from the event should 100% factor into your goals. So with all the different levels of comfort about attending an event during this time, a hybrid event really offers that option for all different types of attendees. A chance to come in person if you feel comfortable to do so, or a chance to watch from the comfort of your home. Or if you're just interested in a few topics, you can watch a few key sessions later on demand. And that is ultimately the beauty of hybrid. Staffing for a hybrid event has been a fun little puzzle to unwrap for Cvent Connect. And you are catching me at a very fun time. We are in the trenches literally right now staffing for our conference, which is about a month ago. So a few quick tips I'll give you on staffing for hybrid. I would say, first of all, think of it this way. When you are doing a hybrid event, you basically have 2 venues to staff. You have the in-person, which is your hotel or venue, and then you got your virtual environment, which is I call the virtual venue. For in-person, we're staffing pretty close to normal to what we had in 2019, but we have made a few tweaks, especially when it relates to production. So we've added a bunch of production folks, some people monitoring the live stream, some people looking out for food and beverage safety and safety on site in general. We want to make sure we're having people execute duty of care, responsibilities, etc. So those positions are new, but mostly our positions are not necessarily new, but just added responsibilities to our current staff load. For virtual, however, we do have some net new positions from a staffing perspective. Just to note a few, we have a couple people monitoring chat and Q&A. These moderators can also be in person and moderating the same room that you're live streaming. So we're doing a little bit of both. We also have virtual chat and support folks helping with answer questions, informational booths, things like that to just keep the online audience, their questions answered and everybody happy. And next, we kind of have these virtual networking and product and exhibitor booths. Those are being staffed to make sure that all the technology is working and to make sure that exhibitors and people meeting with exhibitors or people coming to booths don't necessarily have questions or they know who to go to if they do. So really it comes down to the venue and the tech and the production all kind of working harmoniously together. I think the real additions from my perspective, the biggest ones that will make the biggest impact are making sure you have the right producers on your content in the room and for your live streams. That's really where your biggest bang for your buck is going to be. And you also want to make sure you're going to have somebody working alongside of you on your run of show for your overall program per each programming area. That's really where the success is going to come in from a staffing perspective.